All right, we're live.
Hi there. Welcome to Peppers and Flowers, where sales and marketing doesn't make sense. Please join us for the conversation.
All right. So I just got off the phone yesterday with a well, I guess mutual friend of ours. I won't mention his name, but he called me and he was asking for like marketing advice.
Yeah.
And so we chatted and stuff, and I actually it was right before I was getting my hair cut because I had like freaking long hair. So
Right.
so he's like, yeah, I'm doing some marketing things, and I'm gonna start podcasting potential clients. And I was like, oh no. He's gonna do that thing we talked about in the last podcast, or the one 2 times ago, I think,
hmm
when I met that one dude, which I recommended to you because I didn't know
Yeah.
what I was getting myself into.
Right.
Where he
Right.
podcast people just so he could like make them feel special and like make them their client.
hmm
Oh, here's my daughter.
Awesome. Is she waking up right now?
No, she's been awake since like 7.
Oh, wow.
Do you want to say hi real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. Say hi.
Hi,
Hi, Alexa. How are you?
Dalmatian puppy.
Dalmatian. Beautiful. Beautiful. That sounds good.
Can you sing A Whole New World? What's your favorite song? What's your favorite song?
Jasmine.
No, your song.
Hollywood.
A Whole New World.
uh, That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyways, there you go, children. But anyways,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm gonna start doing that. And I was thinking, man, okay, I don't want to be on the podcast. I just thought it's so like now when I think back, honestly, like the guy didn't care at all
Mm,
about
mm,
anything except I'm doing this to like feed your ego and get a deal. And it was so blatantly obvious. It was like
mm.
it like really it made me not want to do work with them. Not that we would be a good fit anyways, like we're doing different things,
Right.
but it's
Yeah.
kind of annoying.
Yeah.
I was like, no, don't do it.
So
You
what
know?
was it? Is he gonna do it though, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's not like anything wrong. It's kind of a cool idea, but
Yeah.
um I was just thinking like it's kind of it kind of like leads them on a bit, you know?
Yeah. 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 Totally. Totally. Yeah. I mean, we call that ulterior motive, or
Yeah,
having
for sure.
having yeah. I mean, so it's like, um, I guess for some people it works. People who want to get a quick, excuse me, a commercial spot about their business, about who they are, and they're willing to to go and make that happen. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, everybody has feelings. We were, and we know when we're treated with respect, or we kind of know when we're being taken advantage of. And yeah, nobody wants to be taken advantage of. And so that's kind of like, especially in business, I feel like that's like the rule of thumb.
Hey, hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Okay.
All right. And we're back again.
Awesome. So where do
Babies,
we leave
man.
off?
Babies.
What? I'm sorry.
I said babies.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So they're doing good today.
They really like me. They really want my attention.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, what were you saying?
Cool.
Sales, not dirty podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, how do we, my thought today is what I call sales and self-control. You know, we conduct sales, we have meetings, we have presentations, and we also have a lot of questions that are asked in sales. And then also what has to happen is, sometimes there's also a time to be patient and wait, waiting for a response, waiting for a callback or an email. And oftentimes in this arena of things, there's a lack of self-control, and we make bad decisions, we make poor choices, in the form of like making a phone call when we shouldn't, maybe visiting a prospect when we shouldn't. And oftentimes we could talk ourselves out of a deal simply because that aspect of a kind of a self-controlled nature isn't there. So I was hoping today we could talk about sales and self-control, or how self-control can be used in business in general, and as an asset to help us become more successful.
Probably the most simplest form of being patient in sales is every time like when I was being trained and stuff like that and learning myself, for sure the main thing was, do you remember what people saying this a lot? When you hit the sales part, I'm sorry, the price part, when you share the price,
Mm-hmm.
after you say the price, you shut up.
Right.
And you wait for them to respond. Even doesn't matter how long it takes or how awkward it is, you have to just wait.
Right.
And I remember that being kind of super awkward and difficult. But
Mm-hmm.
but again, you do realize that no one can punch you through the phone, and you being in control,
Mm-hmm.
and really controlling the situation like that. It's not. You might. I mean, there's always a small percentage that people don't like that. You go, man, this is not a good conversation, right? Sometimes, sure, but for the most part, no one really ever gets mad,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
especially if you have patience and go, oh my God, okay, it's been like 30 minutes. I gave him the price and now it was quiet. And then he's kind of rebuttaling. And then you have to kind of brainstorm and think quick on your feet to try to reframe them, and like get them to think on the same level as you're thinking. And then going in again and trying to close it. It's, it takes patience for sure. Especially if you lose control too far into the call and the person's been chatting the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You can lose patience there because you're like, when do I interrupt? I don't want to interrupt. He's just talking. She's just talking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of there's this balance between of kind of rotating between your skills in a certain format to get them to a certain point, and then and then you have to be super patient if you're like, yeah, give me a call in a few days. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's sometimes you feel like you're chasing the prospect, and sometimes that chase could seem like it's never ending, like, oh my gosh, I have to do this now, and they want me to talk to the other person now, and they need to check with the other, staff member and whatnot. And even if we do things perfectly, we all know that, when you go into a major meeting, let's get all the decision makers in the room. So, okay, you need the president, the CFO, the CEO. Okay, let's get them all in the room together. So they're all there, and you do your presentation, and they all understand. And it's going really well, and then, oh well, give us a few more days, and then, oh well, you know what, we need to wait until our committee meets to review the budget, and then there's there's other factors that come up, and it's like, okay, and sometimes it seems like, oh my gosh, it's like, is this ever going to happen? And then, for a lot of sales professionals that work off the monthly quota and things like that, it's like, okay, month end is coming up, and I don't want this deal to push until next month, and so what do I do? Well, you know what, they said wait till next week, but I'm going to call right now, and then you call Mr. Smith at the bakery, and they're like, well, you know what, we said that next week would be better for us. I don't feel like respecting our suggestion here. We're gonna go with this other company, or we're gonna you might just ruffle feathers and shake up the deal a bit. They might just say, well, you know what,
Sure.
we're gonna put this on the hold for a little bit or something, and you never know. But I mean, ultimately, I think it's just an act of checking in with yourself, right? Because we think that just because time is passing, that things are getting worse. And
with the deal?
Yeah, with the deal. We think, oh my gosh, like another week has passed, and oh my gosh, this isn't going to happen anymore. But sometimes, that's really not the case. I mean, sometimes, people, they're just so busy doing other things. If you're an auto, if you're a car dealership, right, your job is to sell cars, not to focus on purchasing cleaning solutions for your shop there. It's like, yeah, you got to take care of that, and so the salesperson needs to be met. But when they're selling cars, they're focused on that, and so unfortunately, these deals for them, they get pushed to the side. So it's like, okay, well, when's my deal going to surface again and become a priority for them? And it will eventually, because they got to clean their shop too, so they need your cleaning solution, but they're so focused on selling cars. So we have to remember that just because we're not being given the attention or whatnot, that we're not less important, or nor are we being nor is the deal falling apart. It's more of a busy issue and just a timing thing. So waiting things out and having self-control is definitely something that we could do to kind of a tool in the toolbox of things that we could do to have an advantage in sales. And
I say this all the time. Like, I mean, I mention this all the time. Literally, like, sales classes are so funny because, okay, how college or universities are really good at like theoretical learning to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
Normally it's like the lower level stuff, but to a certain point, right? It's not until you join a specialized program of some sort. So it's mostly theoretical, right? Like they teach you how to use algebra. Okay. They teach you how to do statistics and that sort of thing, but they don't necessarily teach you how they're used practically fully. They kind of just give you the tip of the iceberg understanding of how it's practically used. And then you don't actually put things into practical use until maybe you go to law school, or you do, or not even law school really, but more of like residencies. You pass your bar for law school and then you're doing like your 2-year internship. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not until you hit a really further along advanced part where you start using things a bit more practically in an actual setting. And that's not for every major every time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same sort of thing with sales classes. Like, I think it's really hard for people teaching sales to standardize it, because it really has to do a lot with format. It really has a lot to do with the person's personality. It really has a lot to do with a ton of different factors. Like, I mean, for even the prospect's going through something personally right now. We just don't know. We deal with people.
Mm-hmm.
People have a ton of different things going on.
Yeah.
So it's hard to standardize it, because the only way to standardize it is by, and I mean standardize it like 100%. So that would just mean like you put a script together. You say, follow this system. That you make a one call, which is discovery. Then you get them on a closing call. You close them. You say these things. Here's the magical line, and then you close it. Now you're making $400,000 a month. And so if you have a program, you can sell it a bit easier with a very strong go-to market, practical use, standardized method. And it's not until you jump into the sales game with these scripts and all this kind of stuff that you start to realize, wait, why didn't I close that deal? I followed the script. Or you're following the script and the person says something totally off topic and you're like, don't even know how to act. You're just like, well, sir, you're not following the script. We're on this question now. That happens. So you don't understand the practical. It's more of a negotiation in a sense than it actually is a format, because we might say we have a two-step sales process, right? We have a setter, which vets and sets appointments with people in the right mindset to buy. And then we have a closer, follows up and they close it, right? So for some reason, things are absolute in sales. So people will think, or setter or new people, whatever, who aren't used to sales, might go, okay, I have to set this appointment. When I set it on the closing call, that deal is going to close. And there's no further understanding of, well, this person's qualified. I asked all the right questions. I set them. They might not show up to that meeting, or they might not buy, or maybe they need follow-up. So we just have to keep in contact with them. But anything less than that, or anything more than the one call and then the close call, it's like, why didn't it work? Why didn't it work? But sales is going to always be a bit of, you get someone closed on the first call, you get someone closed after 2 calls. Maybe this person takes a year of follow-up before you close them. It's kind of a smorgasbord, really. But
yeah,
I could also see how programs wouldn't be as enticing if you're like, hey, do you want to learn how to follow up with someone for a year before you close them?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's quite a bit of time that could pass, and you're like, man, what do I get paid this year or next year?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, some of the greatest sales guys that some of the bigger names, like you probably could just think of some people off the top of your head. Same as me. Probably they get. I don't want to say luckier necessarily, but they probably have a really good close rate, right? So they probably get on a closing call and they make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows really how many times they've been in contact with that person? Sometimes there's things on YouTube that go, look at this guy, he's closing this deal. Oh, amazing. Mm-hmm. But they could have been talking to that person for years. They might know each other already. Like maybe it's a person that's just in the right mindset and they're just doesn't take much convincing or anything too crazy and they just go for it. There's just, you're dealing with individual people. It's funny because sales is like mass marketing at an individualistic level. Mm-hmm. So you're trying to call as many people as you can with a standardized process, but the standardized process is designed to close you, James. The standardized process is designed to close myself or close someone else. And there's 3 different personalities and different people here.
Yeah, that's totally true.
You have to kind of mold into, and chameleon, I guess, in a good way. Like you kind of have to chameleon a bit for each situation.
Yeah.
Some people like to joke around a bit more. Some people like that connection.
Yeah.
Some people are just like, look, we can talk about this for hours. Just tell me how much it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's hard to standardize it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, think about for parents, for those of audience members that have children, it's kind of like, you have a picture in your mind of how the day is going to go, or how the routine's going to go throughout the days when you play or have meals, or even like the morning routines or bedtime routines. It's like, as parents, we go, okay, it's going to go like this. We're gonna play for a little bit. We're gonna sit down and talk for a little bit. We're gonna wash up and change clothes and go to bed, and maybe have for those people who read bedtime stories, or kind of review the day together, and pros and cons, highs and lows, whatever it is. Everyone has a mindset of like, this is how things are gonna go. and then once you jump into the day, kids are bouncing off the walls. It's like, almost nothing goes according to plan. Maybe a couple of things, right? And you're like happy you just got something done. And but everyone's still alive, and we go to bed and we wake up the next day, right? So but it's like, I think that's what you're saying in sales too. It's like, we can't expect our formula to go the way that we plan it.
Yeah,
now
you could be an amazing parent, but you're also an amazing parent because you don't know what your kids are going to throw at you. And then when they do, you what's the word? You like mold into it.
yeah, gel.
Yeah, maybe. I guess you kind of gel with it. You adapt. That's the word I'm looking for. You adapt for each situation, and you just you figure it out. And I think that's kind of thing with sales. It's kind of this weird. I said this before, and I think it's worth repeating all this stuff because I think it's super valuable. But it's really like this. It's almost like I kind of lost my train of thought for a second.
Kind of how you gel together or adapt.
Yeah. No, I totally forgot. But it's kind of like, I guess the point I'm just trying to make is you jump into it and you realize how kind of all over the place it is, but having a format gives you better bird's eye view of each person.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the word that comes to mind is for me is perspective. I think if you don't plan out at least a process or have some process, then you are just kind of going by chance and you're not really being intentional about it. Then your perspective is limited. You might not see things as clearly. You might not even understand the prospect that well. You might not understand how your solution is going to benefit them. It's like it's kind of like muddied waters, but I mean, if you at least come into like a sales meeting or a pitch, and you're like, you fully thought out the prospect, you understand your business model, the person, specifically that you're going to be talking to, and you go in there with a dialogue in mind that you want to share with them, and then you go in and execute. You'll have a higher chance of making it, and
right.
And it'll be a smoother process and more enjoyable. And also I think you learn a lot more too, because, I think like the professionals, like the athletes and, professional, I guess any profession, but just say athletes for now. It's like, they always, they have a game and then they review it and they go, yeah, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. They review it and they get better and better. And so much like a sales professional, if you come into a game or a meeting and it's more well thought out and you execute it, well, you might not get it perfect, but now you come out with some lessons learned for the next time you go out there. So
it's like, I remember what I was going to say. So sales scripts and processes are necessary. Otherwise you guys are just having a friendly conversation. And I'm not trying to discredit that, but what I'm trying to point out is that sales processes are like chambers, right? So the chambers are empty, but each chamber is a different color. So you go, okay, So there's a door in front of you. It says start the sales process, right? Which basically means you're on your sales call. You walk in through that front door into the first chamber, which is red. Colors don't mean anything, just to distinguish the difference between chamber 1 and chamber 2, okay? So chamber 1 you walk into and it's red. So there's nothing in there except for maybe, chamber red is kind of small talk. And small talk can be built upon your personality, what you consider small talk, just you personally, maybe the person you're talking to. And then once you get past small talk, you move to chamber 2, which is blue. And you know that this chamber is for, setting up the context of the call per se. Now, this is not like an order of anything. I'm just trying to give an example here. So chamber 2 is empty. There's nothing in there, but you just know the theme. But you fill that chamber up using your sales skills, questions, their answer. You see what I'm saying? So it's more of like, that's actually a really good way to explain it. It's more of like you walk into different rooms at the right time, and like this is this theme room, this is this topic room. So there's no, it's not like you have to follow a maze to the T, but at certain points you have a certain chamber you're in that you need to focus on.
Absolutely. Like I'll give you my process really quick, and this might help some people who are trying to just, get some things down. Like my chamber 1 red is like, okay, make a cold call to a prospect. And my only goal is to set an appointment, right? So I'm not trying to close the deal. I'm not trying to really get to know them too well. I'm not trying to do a lot. I'm just trying to get a, in-person meeting with them where I can really get to know them better, So I won't do a lot of research on the company. I will do some and a little bit of research on the person maybe, but like, it's really just a cold call into the organization, and you're making a lot of phone calls. So you're doing a lot of these calls, but your only goal is to go, introduce yourself, do your 30-second elevator pitch. Hi, this is James with Fellowship Sales. We increase sales for business owners. May I speak with so-and-so, the marketing director? Oh yeah, here, the marketing director's here. And then you introduce yourself again and just say, I'm interested to meet with you to talk about ways we can help grow your business and increase sales. Do you have 30 minutes sometime next week or sometime this week? And then you just get that appointment set, and then you're good. You're not there to chit chat more because they're busy. You're busy, they're busy, and everyone's moving on. Your goal is to get the appointment, right? And a lot of times what happens, even in this first chamber of cold calling, is that people they want to give like solutions over the phone. They want to answer too many questions. They want to sometimes even close the deal, but it's a little awkward because it's like, I don't even know you kind of thing. And so it's like, there's too much talking going on when there doesn't have to be. Really, the goal is to get a solid appointment, so you're not wasting their time on the phone the first call. And now when you have your appointment set, Thursday, this Thursday at 10 o'clock. So now you have, a couple of days to prepare and review and plan for your meeting, so that when you go out there, now you can really get to know them. So chamber 2 is that meeting. It's the what I call, some people call it discovery. I call it interview. But whatever, it's that first meeting where you get to know your customer. And I usually go out there with a set of questions. I have almost 20 questions that I ask my people during my interview meeting. And during that meeting, I'm just getting to know them. So it's all the questions about their business, their marketing, their sales, their staffing, who their customers are, all these different things. And then the goal there is to intake, chit chat, get to know them, answer any questions they might have about you and your business. And then the goal is to get another meeting, which is the presentation and close meeting. And so before leaving that meeting, I always make sure, okay, so when do you want to meet again? And you actually get a calendar day and time set. You don't leave it to chance. You don't leave it to like, maybe I'll call you or just email me sometime. No. You say, look, let's get a meeting set. And sometimes it's a little awkward because some people are not used to that. But you just make sure so I always get that set meeting for the presentation, and that one is almost more important because that's when you're going to present your solutions and close the business. So Yeah, and then the third chamber is when you're out there on the presentation, you review things that you talked about, all the solutions that you have for them, and then you ask for the business. And there you want all the decision makers in the room, you know, at that presentation meeting. You want to have yourself and anybody you need to bring with you to close the deal, and
Yeah.
then you're going for the close. And so, you know, that's where you kind of put it all out there, and you ask for the business. So um, you know, that's kind of the order of things for me, and that's what it's worked out really well. And you respect every chamber. You know, you're not trying to bring in different things to the different chambers or whatever. They all have a part, and you know, so usually you'll see that obviously the very first phone call is the fastest, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. The second meeting is like about an hour. You know, the third one just depends on how many questions they have to close the business. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, your sales you should be considered like an athlete. I think sales people are athletes. I think that seriously. Okay, but we're not like jogging like Usain Bolt or anything, but athletes in the sense of athletes build their skills. They don't build the game. They like build their skills, and they do this day in and day out for years. And even when they play a game, they still sometimes mess up. Right? Like sales is the same way. Like you're building skills. You're not trying to build a sales call. You see, you're building your skills that you'll use in a sales call and know how to use it practically. It's like players do in sports. It's the same thing. And it doesn't. And I said this before too. You know, but it doesn't matter how good you are at sales. You will always look back at your sales calls. Even like I've been doing sales for 40 years, you know, you'll still look back at a sales call you just did and go, oh, why did I say that? I should have said this. It would have been perfect if I did this. There's always something that you're going to learn, but it's, you know, the scripts and the formats, those are great. It gives you an idea of how it should go, but you know, think of it more of as a chamber approach. Think of it more as I just got to learn the skills. Once I learn the skills, I'll be able to kind of just do this on my feet. I don't have to look at anything. I just know where I need to get them. I can identify where they're at. I can see if there's pushback, if there's rebuttals. I can understand that they're maybe not, they probably don't even know what they're really asking sometimes. And I really know that they're asking this. If it's a money issue, I know they're really concerned about that, not really the money. And so I have to reframe them. I have to get them. So it's not, I didn't get, it's not like I didn't get the sale because I didn't follow the format. It's more of like I didn't get the sale because I didn't understand. We weren't like synchronized. You know, I failed to get that person on the same level of understanding that I am.
Perfect. Yeah. You know, that's good. That's really good. Yep. I mean, that's sometimes we lose people because of lack of understanding, you know, and I guess, you know, just to bring in the topic again, sales and self-control, that aspect of self-control comes in here because it's like, you know, we tend to bypass explaining things clearly just to get to the close, you know, and then, you know, by doing that, lacking that self-control to explain things, taking time with our prospects, then we kind of lose them. They're like, so how does that make sense? Like, I don't see the solution really well. You know, it's like, you're telling me it's going to help me with this problem, but I don't quite see how that's going to work. And you go, oh, okay, well, I know it, but I just didn't explain it. I didn't take the time to fully, you know, go over all the details, you know?
Right. Yeah. There's a lot more to it than just, I didn't follow the format type of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just, it's just, you know, it's really interesting. It's really interesting,
Yeah.
but you know, again, you also just have to do it because a sales call produces more than just questions or asking or answers. Basically, you know, it might produce nerves. So you might just word vomit. You know, you basically put it to the test when you start doing it. So you really just got to start calling. Just start, you know, you could honestly just get your phone, start making phone calls and just see how far you get.
Absolutely. When I first started in sales, they were like, here's the phone book and here's a phone, go for it. It was just like, there's no more instructions.
And it doesn't have to be complicated. Like I like cold calling because when I call businesses, I avoid all this generic stuff, and I like to be pretty straightforward because you know what? It works sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just call and go, hey, listen, you don't know me, we don't know each other, but my name's Daniel. I'm with, XYZ company. And I just want to see if you're looking for, a marketing partner, or want to see if you were looking for a new website or whatever it might be. And so I just choose something specific, or I just say something generic, like looking for a marketing partner or something like that. If that's something you're interested, whatever.
Right.
And they might go, and it's happened. They go, oh, you know what? Yeah, we actually are looking into something like that. Can you shoot me an email or whatever? Which is not like the best to get, like shoot me an email, right? But it works. Like I've sold websites that way.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, if you're looking for a new website, just check yours out and it looks like you could really use a new one. And you go, oh, you know what? Yeah. Let's talk more. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And even that is self-control too, like taking the time to review their website and studying it, before calling them. That, some people are just like, oh, I'm just going to call them, but like doing a little bit of research is always good too. I think that's a good use of self-control as well on the research side of things,
Yeah. Self-control also is not saying things. Well, period. Self-control would be like not saying things as well. Kind of that example I said before of like, every person's like, you say the price and just be quiet. Don't be the first one to talk, right? Put that pressure on.
Yeah.
But also being patient, like here, again, I said this before, I think it's worth repeating, but probably the biggest, well, actually, no, I think, I think this might be one of the biggest flaws I see in salespeople, mostly new salespeople. Well, actually, that's not true. Well, let me get to the point. Probably the biggest flaw that I see in salespeople is responding or talking between questions, which is like this. Okay, James. So, how much revenue are you doing right now per month? Okay, and you go, well, business has been so great. Our sales dropped, 10%. We're doing about, 10,000 a month right now or something like that. And then right once he ends, you go, okay, cool. All right. So, how many clients are you working with? Right? It's just like shotgunning it.
Right.
Probably the biggest flaw I
right.
see, because how it should really go is, put a little thought and like concern behind it, right? So, hey, how much revenue are you pulling in this month? Well, sales decrease, it's about 10,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So how many clients are you working with right now? You see how that it sets the mood that for the prospect to go, he's actually listening.
Yeah, that's exactly good. We'll go into listening skills too later on, but yeah, that's exactly right. Once they recognize you're taking time.
No, but that's also patience for sure.
Yeah.
Like you have to slap yourself in the face and be like, Daniel, don't just chill. Just chill. It's, okay, think about it, comprehend. Okay, got it.
Right. Yeah. No, that's,
none of this like,
really good
none
point.
of this like,
really,
okay, cool. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your favorite color? And it's like purple. All right, cool. Awesome. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think of this? Okay, cool. Yeah, great. Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah.
Okay, everything's cool, right?
And like my dog just died. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Oh yeah, sorry.
There's that old. I heard about this one time where there's a U.S. president. I forget which one, and there was, I guess, well, it's a fun. It's kind of a funny story, but it was true. There's a line of people that that were in line to share with him, right? Actually, I don't want to tell this story. It down talks like, president type people, but there is a point being made here, because it's all about like listening and responding, like kind of what
Yeah,
we're
go
talking
ahead. Tell me.
something to the effect of like, people were there to share, kind of congratulate him, or just to like share some thoughts with him, and so everyone's in line saying things, and then one person comes up and says, "Oh yeah, my grandmother just died. She just passed away. She just had a stroke." And the president goes like, "Oh great, glad to hear that. Thank you so much." And so almost he was just saying that same line to everybody. "Glad to hear that. Thank you so much for sharing that." So the guy could have said anything and he would have said the same thing.
Yeah, right.
So it's kind of like, you're in a sales meeting, and it's like, oh yeah, right. We just landed a new prospect, or we took on a new customer, or they could have said, we just lost $1 million in revenue. Oh, that's great, awesome. So what else happened?
Yeah.
It's like, you're not really listening to everything, so yeah, so there's a subtext of emotions and subtext of, the what's going beneath of what's being said. Is a company okay? I mean, is the staff okay, or is the industry okay? And that's really relevant right now, I think, especially in the climate that we're in with COVID and stuff. It's like, a lot of businesses are going through a lot, and can you imagine showing up now as a salesperson? It's a different arena now. You have to be more of a counselor, more of somebody who's taking in good information with 2 ears, and listening well, and also exercising self-control to ask good questions and wait for responses, because people have a lot to share right now and a lot that they've gone through. And so that sympathetic ear is really important to have.
Right, exactly. It's the same kind of thing how you would be at a party. If you talk to people at a party or a gathering, you're not going to just rack off questions. Like, you're just going to be normal, You're just going to be yourself and a person, and they'll end up liking you. It's the same sort of thing. Like, you can control a conversation without making it seem like you're interrogating people.
Right.
That's my point. That's a hard skill to learn too. I mean, that took me a long time to figure out, which is like, how do I get comfortable enough to know where to get them, understand where they're at, what they're thinking.
Right.
Well, you don't really know what they're thinking, but you can kind of have a good insight to that. And then where do I bring them? But I also do this in a very subtle way. I do this in a very in a way that doesn't sound like I'm just reading off questions. Like we're conversing. We're actually having like a meaningful conversation, and if there's anything else, I'm trying to convince them that I really care about their genuine business status. Like, not status, but their genuine business. Like, we help businesses. That sounds kind of lame, generic, but it's true. We help businesses, and I'm here because I'm trying. I'm here because I'm trying to help you. I want to help you. I'm concerned that if we don't get something going in the next 6 months, you might be in the same or worse situation. Let's prevent that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, service sales is a service occupation. It's like we're servicing our customers, and that service is the service that we're bringing to our customers is the product or service that we're bringing to solve a problem. So whether you're selling widgets to just get more things going for the customer, or you're selling something to help them with an accounting issue or a billing issue, or maybe a product that's going to help them to become different than the rest of the competition and stand out from the crowd, whatever issue you're solving, it is a solution that people are bringing. That's what sales professionals do. They bring solutions to businesses. And some solutions are more substantial maybe than others. Some solutions can affect more people, but in any event, if people really look at what's going on, there's a transaction being made because one company finds that another company has something that can help them, and so they need to make that purchase, and they need someone to explain that situation to them, and so that's where the sales professional comes in. So they're that broker between two companies making things happen. And yeah, that's kind of how I see things. And the more adept someone is in understanding, like you talk about a lot, psychology and human behavior, and also just people's decision making skills, the better off they're going to be in making those two companies come together. And so yeah, it's a real place of activity. There's so much action that goes on in sales because there's a big difference that someone can really make. And so that's why I don't know, I mean, I think at one point I did a research study, and it turned out that sales professionals were some of the highest paid individuals across the board, even more than medical doctors in some cases. And
for sure.
I was really surprised by that. But I thought, well, what does that really make sense to me? I mean, there's no degree in sales. Why would somebody make so much money? They don't have a master's, they don't have a bachelor's. I mean, they may have a master's and bachelor's, but not in sales, because sales doesn't really qualify for a bachelor's degree right now, as I know it. So it's like, why would these individuals get paid so much money? And I realize, I think it's the pressure that is placed on them, and the success that could happen for two companies coming together when they make a transaction happen.
Right.
There's a lot at stake in what these individuals are doing. And so there's the financial rewards.
Well, on the other hand, I don't think. Okay, well, here's my final thoughts. I don't think that education has anything to do with how much money you make or qualified to make. Because, I mean, think about it for a second, right? Think about it. If you don't go to college, if you go to college, you don't sign a paper that says you're guaranteed to make more than people who don't have degrees.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, if you don't go to college, the government or people don't come to you, whoever this entity would be, and say, hey, by the way, you're not going to college. I'm just letting you know you're not going to be as successful and make enough money as someone qualified with a degree.
Yeah.
Right? Like this isn't a set thing. This is why sales is performance. That's why sales has a lot of turnover sometimes, because not everyone's in it like the top performing guy is. It's more when it comes down to the primal portion of it, it's all about the effort and dedication and just being an animal, basically. And the effort, dedication, building your skills, learning is going to always outperform the highest educated person ever. Which is why you see 15-year-olds making millions of dollars drop shipping. And they're driving Ferraris. There's no rule that says you're 15, you can't buy a Ferrari and you can't be that rich because you didn't go to college yet. So when you create a system that offers reward for performance to a large country, which I'm just trying to point out, it's a large population, right? Huge sample. You're going to get people who are the least educated career-wise, right? Maybe they didn't go to college, maybe they dropped out of high school, and they're making the most money because they're working harder and learning more and dedicating and just being diligent in positions that offer reward for performance, which the best place to do that is sales. So they'll get $2,000 a month, and then they get, percentage for every sale they do. So imagine that placed across the entire population of the United States. You're going to get people who are making millions of dollars off entry-level positions. Now that's a little extreme, but you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, I mean, hard work is something that can't be replaced, or, you learn it, you develop it. Sometimes they don't really teach it, which I think that's a topic to go off on. But I mean, yeah, it's good to know that, you could just be a hardworking individual, enjoy your job, like people, like talking about products and services, and have a good career, and sales, associates become sales managers, sales directors, VP of sales. And I heard that another statistic that a lot of CEOs nowadays, or not just nowadays, but just CEOs in general, have a lot of sales in their background. Maybe they were a sales manager before, or some type of a sales professional. And that helps them to become successful CEOs, which is, I think is pretty interesting to note that.
Exactly. So anyways, pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah. So all that to say, sales and self-control. Self-control is, it's controlling yourself, so what are we out of control people? Well, I mean, we could say things like, I remember in my career, like I used to joke around a lot, when I was early on. I used to laugh on the phone a lot. I used to crack jokes, but then I was like, this isn't very professional. I wonder how people see me, and I started to have more self-control, a lot more kind of professional attitude towards my prospects and customers. And it came across a lot better. You just had more respect and people trusted you more. And so anyways, I'm not saying, we should never, ever joke or laugh. I mean, that's, we're human beings. But I mean, to have that be your mantra, or that's your mode of operation. I mean, we're not comedians, right? We're sales professionals. So for those of us that are, but I mean, but yeah, so just having the self-control to say what's appropriate, say things that are helpful, say things that are going to encourage people, and be positive, because, making a decision on both ends is difficult. For the sales professional calling a customer, that takes a lot. And then for the customer to hire the sales company, or the salesperson, or their business, that takes a lot too, so, be positive about things, have self-control, ask the right questions, pause, listen, all those things that seem like common sense, but that kind of common sense goes out the door sometimes when we're so focused on, I want to close this deal this month or this week, or whatever it is,
Yeah, just take your time.
Absolutely. All right, Daniel, anything else for you today?
That's all for me.
All right, friends. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us for Peppers and Flowers. We will see you again next Saturday. Daniel and James signing off.